Shalom, everybody. This is Rabbi Dr. Stuart Darrellman at Interfaithfulness, where we're building bridges, where history builds walls. And I thought today to bring a little bit of light to you amidst the COVID darkness. We're all huddled in our homes. Most of us are sitting in front of a screen of some sort, and maybe while you're looking at your screen, you can be seeing this, and it'll bring some light in your darkness. This is especially at this Passover season. I wanted to draw some thoughts out that coordinate what we think about Passover and what we think about our current situation. So let me share one or two things with you. It's from our publication, Shulchan Shalanu, which is a weekly discussion guide that comes to the tables of subscribers, whereby you can discuss these things with your children, with your friends. And now that we're sequestered, you can even discuss it with people online. It gives you something to discuss that is of spiritual benefit at a time when we all need it. So let me just share a thought or two with you from this week's Shulchan, dealing with some of the readings that we have. Well, here, let's talk about strengthening Jewish life this week. How strange it is that we will not be able to gather together as families for our Seders this year. And what a sobering time it is as we remember the 10 plagues which God brought upon Egypt, while we experienced the death, the fear, and the isolation of the coronavirus plague. We should not miss the opportunity for deep contemplation at this time. For example, imagine if the coronavirus were striking down the firstborn in every family, as was the case for Pharaoh's Egypt. Imagine how the Egyptians felt amidst their 10th plague. Imagine, too, what it would be like to experience not one plague, but a series of 10, each one worse than the previous ones. In our tradition, we read that when Israel escaped through the Red Sea, God rebuked the angels. Quote, "In that hour the ministering angels wished to utter the song of praise before God. But God rebuked them, saying, 'My handiwork, the Egyptians, are drowning in the sea. Would you utter a song before me?'" End quote. What should we learn from this at this time of COVID-19? Just this. Let's remember those who are sick, those who are dying, those who have died, and those who will die. Let's remember their families too, all of these, in prayer. Let us rejoice at our health at this perilous time. But let's be sure to mourn for those who are less fortunate. It's remarkable that our tradition reminds us not to rejoice over the death of the Egyptians. This reminds me of Yeshua. You know, we often celebrate our redemption through Yeshua, but we need to remember that someone had to die for us to be free. So it's a sobering time. One more thought. Let's look here at something. Our Haftorah this week is from Ezekiel chapter 37. And here's a brief blurb that we should keep in mind at this time. In 1883, writing years before the first Zionist Congress and a lifetime before the founding of the State of Israel, Bible scholar Samuel Henry Kellogg looked at Ezekiel chapter 36 and 37 and ventured a guess concerning the return of the Jews to the land. And here is what he said. This is based in the Valley of the Dry Bones, which we'll be reading in our synagogues this Shabbat. He said this: "In the prophecy of Ezekiel we have, in the vision of the Valley of Dry Bones and its interpretation, a very full account of the final restoration of Israel. According to the representations of that vision, the restoration is to take place in successive and perfectly distinct stages. Thus, while the prophet saw that before the giving of life to the dry bones, which symbolizes the house of Israel, before even the clothing of them with flesh and sinews and skin, there was first of all A noise and a shaking, and bone came to bone, each bone to its fellow. That is, he saw in the first place a preliminary organization, the necessary antecedent of all that would follow. If this feature of the vision means anything at all, it would seem that it can mean nothing less than that a tendency of external organization in the scattered nation was to be looked for, antecedent, that is, previous, and preparatory to their actual reinstatement on their land, and their conversion by God to God by the power of the Spirit of life. Something of this kind, therefore, according to the prophet, was to be expected as one of the initial stages of the restoration process. Now, the facts are that the founding of the modern state of Israel precisely followed the pattern that Kellogg discerned in the prophecies of Ezekiel. So, my friends, we should pay more attention to the Bible, especially at this time when we have so much time on our hands. Let's read the Word. Let's pray for those less fortunate. And let's hope together for a brighter day. This is Rabbi Dr. Stuart Dowman at Interfaithfulness saying, Shabbat Shalom to you as it comes upon us, and Aziz and Pesach, a happy and wonderful Passover to you, even in the midst of what we're facing. Shalom for now.